Hello friends. In this video, I'm going to talk about AI in healthcare. Most of us who are AI professionals understand very generic AI. And usually AI is just a tool, and without a domain, it's as good as nothing. In few domains, you really do not need any domain knowledge, or you don't need to combine your AI techniques with the domain to get the required results. However, in domains like healthcare or energy, AI is very specific. And it is very important to understand that AI in normal sense may be used in healthcare, but it cannot be efficiently used, or you cannot get the best results if you don't combine your domain knowledge with the AI. Let's begin with definition of artificial intelligence. In very simplistic terms, artificial intelligence is intelligence demonstrated by machines. Or in other words, you can say machines that mimic cognitive functions that humans associate with human mind, such as learning or problem solving. There are so many subfields in artificial intelligence, and the field that has specifically exploded or disrupted the industry in recent times is machine learning. Let's understand AI or ML in other sense using a very simple example. Let's understand how we as human recognize faces. Do we completely understand it? No. But we know that using millions of neurons and their complex interaction, we are able to do this job of face recognition very well. Now, how do we achieve this using computers? So we need to write a program. The first logic that comes to anybody's mind is, you distinguish human based on their shape of the eye, color of the eye, shape of the nose, color of the nose, shape of the face, color of the shape, and various other facial features. However, writing such a program is very complex, very time consuming, and I would say for a very large data set, it would be impossible. Using machine learning, if you want to design such system, all we need to do is you need to show several examples of faces associated with the names to this ML algorithm, and we just train this algorithm, and if we do it everything right, then it would work just fine. So what exactly machine learning does is make these tasks of recognizing and assigning patterns to a particular class very easy. Let's understand with another example. Can anyone predict which particular fish this person is going to catch next? I know it's impossible looking at this image. Let's make your job easy. So I have now defined the location. So you can quickly Google it and figure out that these are the 4 fishes which are commonly found in this location. But still, you can only predict with the accuracy of around 25%. However, if I tell you two features, that first of all, the fishing net that this person is using can only hold fishes less than 20 centimeter and less than 3 kgs, then you can probably predict with much higher accuracy, probably around 50%. But if I give you another hint that 80% of fishes that were observed in the last 1 hour or white in color, then job becomes very easy. Now you can predict with pretty high accuracy. So that's what machine learning does essentially. It combines your prior information along with the features and comes up with a very high accurate learning algorithms. So what exactly machine learnings can do? They look for patterns by searching through the data. These patterns can be in the form of trends, associations, and classes. And they express these patterns as mathematical structures such as polynomial equations or probabilistic equations. Where the machine learning algorithms would be really useful? in a task where we cannot express our knowledge about patterns as a program. I give one example as face recognition system for a very large database. Another examples include character recognition, natural language processing tasks, or any kind of image processing tasks. Another place where machine learning algorithms will be really useful is where we do not have an algorithm to identify the pattern of interest. So you want algorithms to identify the pattern of interest by learning through the data. Then if data is very complex and dynamic, like weather forecasting, then if there are too many permutations and combinations, like genetic code mapping, and in the end where we do not have any prior experience or knowledge about the data, so you want algorithms to learn as they see the data, and that's like Mars rover. Let's take another example where we want to predict whether the particular person is diabetic or healthy based on certain clinical features such as BMI, DP function, or age. Here in this case, the way data is represented, uh, all the rows represent one particular data sample from one particular person, and the columns represent different features. So just for this example and make our task easy, let's consider just two features. And here we have considered DP function and age. Age is represented on the y-axis and DP function on the x-axis. And single point on the plot represents one point or one row in the data. And each point represents belongs to one person. That person could be healthy or sick. If we see largely the spread of the points, you would observe that most of the sick people are on the upper side and most of the healthy are on the lower side of this plot. Now, if you want to make a machine learning algorithms that would minimize the error and maximize the difference between sick and healthy population, the simple algorithm could be a single line on this plot. So all the points on the right side actually represent sick people, and all the points on the left side actually represent healthy population. How did we come up with this? All we need to do is predict, or calculate the slope and the intercept for this line based on this data. So for any unknown sample, if data point lies on the right side of this line, it would represent a sick person, and if the data point lies on the left hand side of this line, it would represent as a healthy person. If we do this right for a very, very large population, then we would say that our algorithm is good. But this was a very simplistic example, and of course, just by using these two features, you can't classify between somebody's diabetic or not. But this was just taken to explain you that how simply we can design an ML algorithm. Let's move forward and understand artificial intelligence in healthcare. We are very well aware of the hype around this topic. It has disrupted many industries, and medical industry is no exception. We all understand that it's going to significantly influence the medical practice in the years to come. However, the successful examples are very minimal so far. We know it has potential in medicine, drug design, and healthcare. But however, for medical professionals and also general people to accept this technology, it requires a large clinical validations. It requires acceptance from clinicians and also patients. And in order to do that, clinicians need to understand the basics of technology so that they can explain the result to the patient. And also acknowledge AI limitations and also the opportunity it offers in the healthcare world. If we talk about innovations over the year, before 1950s, prior to 1950s, we had X-rays being used for clinical practice. Then we had ECGs, we had pacemakers, which really changed the medical practice. In fact, there were a lot of resistance for X-rays also in the initial days. In 1960s, we saw ultrasound coming up. blood analysis became very common by the time it was 1960s. In 1970s, CT, which really changed the way we see healthcare right now, was introduced. Then it was endoscopy. In 1980s, the big, MRI came up, and which has, really changed the diagnosis, especially related to brain. Similarly, in the present days, if we talk about that very disruptive or very new technologies that are being introduced in healthcare world include PET, image guided surgery, or genome sequences. And I think the future, or I would say not really the future, the new present will be artificial intelligence. If you look at number of studies that are being published, that have been published in last couple of years related to machine learning and deep learning, they have exploded. You can see this exponential chart. So in last 4 or 5 years, the number of studies coming related to oncology, pathology, radiology, or surgery have been just phenomenal. And if you ask me why these fields are more commonly looked into by researchers compared to dermatology or ophthalmology, is just because sheer availability of data and the kind of disruptive these AI could be in these fields. But I'm sure that any field of medicine would be equally uh, affected or would be equally disrupted by AI in the years to come. Let's learn different levels of AI, and then this is also very important. If you want to fully understand AI, we also have to understand its limitations and where we should stop. So, as defined by Nick Bostrom, there are three levels of AI. One is artificial narrow intelligence. That's about pattern recognizing abilities in huge data sets. It makes it perfect for solving, any kind of text, voice, or image classification or clustering problems. That's where we are today, actually, I would say. Then second is artificial general intelligence, where AI is very close to human intelligence. It can reason, it can argue, it can memorize, it can solve issues exactly the way we do. The next stage will be artificial super intelligence, where AI would surpass our intelligence, and humanity would not be able to grasp its knowledge and understand AI reasoning. But the question is, that's a big question: do we need this? Now, if you ask, what is the ideal AI, then I would actually place it, and that's what is also suggested by the author, just before artificial general intelligence. We want AI to be smart, very smart, but not as smart as us. We don't want AI to, sometimes I would say, like, overtake us. There would be a lot of people, maybe like Elon Musk, who would love artificial intelligence to be artificial super intelligence. But that's something which is personal opinion. Let's look at various subfields of AI. And as I indicated before, the subfields include machine learning, natural language processing, expert systems, vision, speech, planning, robotics, and there are several others. However, the field that has probably had the most impact, not only within the field but also related to other fields, is machine learning. The potential that AI would show in the coming years. So if you look at it, top 10 AI applications, it includes robot assisted surgery, virtual nursing, administrative workflow, fraud detection, dosage error, connected machine, clinical trial, preliminary diagnosis, automated image diagnosis, or cybersecurity. However, the field that would see the biggest potential by 2026 is actually robotic assisted surgery. The most of the papers today are currently published in automated image diagnosis. However, all the fields will see a surge in near future. Now let us discuss maybe two of the use cases related to AI in healthcare. We know the utility of chest radiography as a medical test or as a radiography test. It is used for diagnostic assessment. It is used also for screening for over 50 abnormalities. And these abnormalities include tuberculosis, pneumonia, nodules, mass. Interpretation of these chest radiographs is a tedious job. It takes time. And moreover, the problem gets multiplied by the ratio of chest radiographs to the well-trained radiologists, which is really skewed. And you can also imagine the situation would be really worse in resource poor areas. Any kind of automation in this field would be highly beneficial. Moreover, imagine if an automation can at least discard some of the cases. So out of 100, if the radiologist is need to see only maybe 20, then you can see that 80% of the job is already done. There was a paper published a few years back. It's called ChexNet, which is used, which actually did the classification of 50 diseases related to chest X-ray image classification. It used a DenseNet, and maybe will come in probably in future videos where I would go through deep learning networks. Not only we would able to diagnose a particular disease with a pretty high accuracy, but also it could identify the region of abnormality. As you can see here, the region where you see very high probability of pneumonia is being indicated with the reddish color, and similarly the region with a high probability of infiltration is indicated in this image with the reddish color, and the below image shows the possibility of mass. ChexNet actually reported a very high sensitivity and pretty good specificity, and there has been a number of studies which have shown even higher accuracy than ChexNet. Now you can imagine, if using these networks, if we could uh, make sure that none of the cases with nodules is missed, and most of the cases which are normal are not being required to see by a radiologist, that would be a huge benefit. You can imagine a case with nodule, if missed, could actually become cancer. Let's talk about one more use case, and that is diabetic retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy is caused by type 2 diabetes. Several countries like India have millions of cases related to type 2 diabetes. Although disease can be managed, but at later stages it can cause blindness. We know that over 60% of diabetic patients at some point in their age might get diabetic retinopathy. So the one of the point about diabetic retinopathy is that it's a progressive disease. It does not happen overnight. And if diagnosed early, you can actually significantly reduce the chances of damage to the retina. Here it is shown the difference between the healthy eye and a diabetic eye. You can see the presence of abnormal blood vessels and cotton wool spots in the diabetic eye. Using several machine learning algorithms, it has been shown that diabetic retinopathy can be diagnosed with a pretty high sensitivity and specificity. And if it can be detected when it is at mild stage, you can actually save the eyes at very early stage. Now let's discuss how AI can become part of everyday practice in the medical world. First of all, for AI to become everyday practice, it has to be accepted by clinicians. We have to understand that the clinicians who would embrace AI, who would accept AI, would replace the clinicians who would not in the future. AI can never replace a clinician or a medical professional, because medical professional is not just about diagnosis and giving medicine. It's about human touch. It's about empathy, which cannot be taken up by a programming language. Then another very important uh, point is about regulatory. Currently, there is no specific standard for AI. It has been discussed. FDA is working on it, and maybe in probably in few months or years, we would see a regulations which would actually help AI, not block AI in healthcare. Let's also talk about what are the major challenges for the acceptance of AI. One of the main challenges is interpretability. If clinician cannot explain the result to a patient, we have to understand that neither the clinician nor the patient would actually accept AI based diagnostic tools. So, whatever methods a scientist working in AI healthcare would build, they should be interpretable. Second is about quality, quantity of data, and biased AI. Now, imagine a tool, a malaria diagnosis tool, which is developed in India based on the two of the majorly found stains in India, that is Vivex and Falciparum. How can that be used in Africa, where those stains are almost absent, and there are completely different stains which are very common there? So it's not possible, right? So that for AI to be accepted widely, the data should be of high quality, and you need to also have a variety of data that should cover all variety of population. Then another very important point is reimbursement and clinical adoption. If insurance companies would not accept AI results, or would not consider the diagnosis using AI to be to be a to be accepted for reimbursement, then of course AI cannot be used in healthcare. Then privacy issues. AI based methods require trust of patient and clinicians, as we have discussed, not only for acceptance but also for data sharing. AI based methods require massive amount of data for training, and patients uh, should consent that their data to be shared only for the training purposes. Then, of course, we have already discussed regulatory, legal issues, and liability. These are the other very, very important challenges ahead for AI. We'll discuss these challenges more in detail, probably in a couple of videos to come. As part of this video series, we are going to cover all the methods which are related to AI and which would have some kind of a benefit to solve different problems related to healthcare. The methods starting from supervised learning to unsupervised learning and deep learning. We are going to cover both regression and classification methods, and also we will cover very recent methods like convolution neural networks and recurrent neural networks. Thank you very much for watching this video. In the coming videos, we'll go through these methods in detail. Thank you very much.